So good day everyone, I am Maria Teresa and I am the first reporter for this group, and we will be talking about the Persian literature, the characteristics of Persian literature. Persian literature is a rich and diverse literary tradition that spans over a millennium. It has produced some of the world's most celebrated poets, philosophers, and storytellers. Persian literature is primarily written in the Persian language, what they called Farsi, and it encompasses various genres, including poetry, prose, and dramas. So Persian literature has its roots in ancient Persia, which covered a vast territory in what is now Iran, as well as parts of Central Asia and Afghanistan. So these literary traditions developed primarily in the Persian-speaking regions of the world. Persian literature has had a profound influence on the literary traditions of many other cultures, particularly in the Middle East, Central Asia, and South Asia. So it continues to be studied and appreciated around the world for its beauty, wisdom, and enduring relevance. The characteristic of the Persian literature, we have here the poetry dominance, the mysticism and sophism, ghazal poetry, epic poetry, rich symbolism. So we'll be discussing first the poetry dominance. So Persian literature is predominantly poetic. Poetry is considered the highest form of literary expression in Persian culture, and Persian poets have produced some of the world's most exquisite and revered verses. Now, just like what I have said earlier, that Persian people, though they express themselves through writing, so that is why a lot of Persian poets have produced some of or many of the poems. So the next one is the mysticism and Sufism. So Sufism, a mystical Islamic tradition, has had a profound influence on Persian literature, infusing it with themes of love, spirituality, and the search for divine truth. So it's a big part of Persian literature na they seek a deeper connection for the divine. How? Through love and music. So the next one is the ghazal poetry. The ghazal, a poetic form consisting of rhyming couplets, is a hallmark of Persian literature. Ghazals often explore themes of love, longing, and the human condition. So here in ghazal poetry, they're very popular in Persian literature and often talk about love, longing, and ups and downs of life. So the next one is the epic poetry. The Shahnameh, or the Book of Kings, by Ferdowsi, is a monumental epic poem that narrates the history and mythology of Persia. Epic poetry is an important genre within Persian literature. Imagine a long poem that tells a big, exciting story about heroes, the battles, and the history of the nation. No, that's an epic poem. Last one is rich symbolism. Persian poets employ intricate symbolism and metaphors in their works, creating layers of meanings that invite deep contemplation. That's how Persian poets, that's how they use symbolism. Now they use images and metaphors to express complex ideas and emotions. So that's the characteristic of the Persian literature. That is all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, this is Marian Embarios, and today's sessions I am going to discuss about the Persian prose and poetry. But before that, let us first define the meaning of the prose and poetry. So prose and poetry have unique quality and distinguish one from the other. So prose follows natural patterns of speech and communication. It has grammatical structures with sentences and paragraphs. It uses everyday language, and the sentences and thoughts continue across line. So traditional poetry, on the other hand, has deliberate patterns such as rhythm and rhyme. Many poems have informal metrical structures, repeating patterns of beats. It is incorporated more figurative language. Poems visually stand out in a page with narrow columns, varying line and lengths, and more when spaced on a page that prose, hence deliberate line breaks. So, prose and poetry are the two common forms of literature, wherein prose is written work which contains sentences and paragraphs, and does not have any metrical structures. As against, poetry is a genre of literature which is based on a particular form that creates a rhyme. Let us now discuss the Persian prose and poetry. So, the richness of Persian literature, one of the world's oldest, can be traced back to medieval classical Persian. Beginning the 10th centuries and lasting well into 16th century, classical Persian poetry and prose flourished. During the classical period, poetry became the dominant form of literary expression. It was the medium in which almost all intellectual pursuits were expressed, a tradition often supported by royal patronage. So, during the early modern period, Persian literature evolved to include genre in prose such as short stories, novels, satire, and humor. So, Persian writers introduced new themes related to the nationalism and national identity. So, free verse poetry also found an audience among the new literary elites. So, prose became an important literary form and flourished in the 20th century. The number of authors greatly increased and women writers gained much higher visibility. So today, Persian writers, some using regional and national variation of the Persian language, continued to create poetry, prose, novels, and short stories, essays, and children's stories. So classical Persian poetry is always rhyme. So the principal verse forms are the kasede, masnavi, kasal, and rubai. The kasida or ode is a long poem in monorial, usually of aponogenic, didactic, or religious nature. So the masnavi, when in rhyming completes, is employed for heroic, romantic, or narrative. The gazelle or oath or lyric is a comparative short poem. So usually amorous or mystical and varying from 4 to 6 couplets, all of one rhyme. So ghazal is the introductions and in the last goblet of the poet pen name. So the rubai is a quatrain with a particular matter and a collection of quatrains in called rubaiyat. So finally, a poet ghazal and other verse arranged alphabetically according to the rhymes is known as divan. So from the 10th century to the 16th century, Persian classical poetry developed as a literary language by adapting the matter and writing scheme of the Arabic poetic tradition. So even the written works by philosophers, historians, and scientists were often delivered in words. So in Persian, different types of poetry are often associated with specific poetic forms, but not exclusively. In chord poetry, for instance, the spatial forms of the panegyric is the kaseti. Each line varying between 15 and more than 100 this stitch. So the main part of the kaseti expresses extensive praise of the merits of the points patterns by way of a conventional repertoire of lupoy. So the most attractive part of the poem, usually the nasib or introduction. So which addresses topics such as love, nature, and wine. On the other hand, we have classical Persian prose, which flourished in the 20th and 21st centuries. So prose was used for utilitarian purposes, particularly in scholarship, religion, and affairs of government. So in all these domains, the Persian language was in competitions more prestigious Arabic. In theology, science, and literary scholarship, Persian works were mostly popularized versions of sophisticated work in Arabic, but this does not always mean that the former of lesser interest. Persian prose contains a treasure of narrative in books belonging into the mirror for princess genre, for instance. The demonstrations of proper political practice by means of anecdotes was usually more important than theoretical expositions. So their authors were mostly official and courtiers, such as the great 11th century statesman Nizam al-Mulk, who wrote this Siyasat Name, or the Book of Government, for the Seljuk Sultan and Ansur al-Ma'akayukos and 11th century. So of this post-dynasty serving the Ghaznavids who wrote the Qabus Nami, or the Book of Qabus. So that's all for my part. Thank you for listening.
So good day everyone. My name is Marty Salazar and today I'm gonna be reporting the Persian literature under the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Okay? The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is a collection of quatrains, four-line poem attributed to the Persian poet, mathematician, astronomer Omar Khayyam on 1048 to 1131. So, kining rubayat ni Omar Khayyam is four-line poem which is nun siya quatrains ang tawag ana or four-line poem which is kanang sa ka paragraph is four lang siya ka line. Muna siya ang quatrains. And si Omar Khayyam is dili lang po siya sa ka poet but also he is a mathematician of astronomer. The work, written in Persian, explores themes of faith, love, death, and fleeting nature of life. So, ang mga key characteristics or mga key themes sa mga poem ni Omar Khayyam is also about faith, about love, about death, or about fleeting nature of life. Is the little that Edward Fitzgerald gave to his in 1859 translation from Persian to English of a selection of ancient rubaiyat attributed to Omar Khayyam to 1048 to 1131 dubbed as the astronomer poet of Persia. So according to sa ako ang research, kini si Edward Fitzgerald is kanang isa po siya sa nag-translate into English ang kining rubayat ni Omar Khayyam. So gi-translate niya into English. So ang rubayat in Persian is the astronomer poet of Persia na siya in English kay gidub man siya ni um, Edward Fitzgerald. And also, according to sa akong nabasa is, kining upon sa kanang pag-translation ni Edward Fitzgerald atong 1859 sa rubayat ni Omar Khayyam is kanang kining poem ni Omar Khayyam is mas nag-boom siya or mas nailado siya tungod sa translation ni Gerald Edward Fitzgerald. So, in the next slide, the authenticity of poetry attributed to Omar Khayyam is highly uncertain. Khayyam was famous during his lifetime not just a poet, but as an astronomer and a mathematician. The earliest reference to his having written poetry is found in his biography by al-Ishfashani, written 43 years after his death. So, kini si Omar Khayyam is dili na siya usa ka poet but also a mathematician and an astronomer. And also, kini si Omar Khayyam is very good siya ka-famous atong era niya or atong iyang lifetime. Then, napoy biography diri nagisulat about Omar Khayyam which is the Al-Fashani nagisulat atong 43 years after sa iyang kamatayon. So the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam explores several profound themes. So si Khayyam is mo jud ni siya iyang mga ginatuunan og pansin balay kanang if magbuhat siya mga poem is mo jud ni iyang mga key themes. Ang una dira is the fleeting nature of life, carpe diem or seize the day, fatalism and the nature of faith, skepticism and questioning of religion. So as we can see, no, as we can read here, kanang mas nag-focus jud siya on life, sa faith, and about sa kanang mga skepticism. Muna siya ang mga focus ni Omar Khayyam. Okay, the next slide. So, as we mentioned, di ba kagaina is si Edward Fitzgerald is kanang isa sa mga translation is kanang katong rubayat ni Omar Khayyam nga nahimong famous that time. So here are some nga kanang nako gikuha diri nga kanang duha ka buok examples sa translation ni Edward Fitzgerald. So please take time to read na lang. So the next slide is the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam presents a profound philosophical reflection on life, death, time, fate, and human experience. Through its evocative, often paradoxical questions, Khayyam explores several essential themes, advocating for life lived in full awareness of its impermanence and uncertainties. So, kini yung Rubaiyat ni Omar Khayyam is kanang ang main point jud ani is about sa human experiences, about sa philosophical reflections sa life, death, fate, and time. And also naga-advocate pod si ning rubayat ni Omar Khayyam about life lived in full awareness. So I think that would be all. Thank you for listening, and I hope na more learning about sa akong report. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I am Maria Velma Cabarsolidor of PS in English 3B, and today we will be learning about Hafiz poetry as part of the discussion of Persian literature. So, Qazi Shamsuddin Muhammad Hafiz-i-Shirazi, known by his pen name Hafiz or Hafiz, was a Persian lyric poet whose collected works are regarded by many Iranians as one of the highest pinnacles of Persian literature. His work are often found in the homes of Persian speaker who learns his poems by heart and use them as everyday proverbs and saying. So here are some examples of proverbs by Hafiz that made the Iranians' heart touch. So first is, I am happy even before I have risen. Another, do not judge us, you who boast your purity. No, that is some of the proverbs, the famous proverbs of Hafiz. His life and poems have become subject of much analysis, commentary, and interpretation, influencing the post-14th century Persian writing more than any Persian author. So Hafiz, his writing genre is poetry or ghazals. Ghazals is just like a poems, which indicates a number of verses and a repeated rhyme. Normally, this is set to music. So Hafiz wrote some 500 ghazals, 42 rubaiyis, and few ghazadis composed over a period of 50 years. Hafiz only composed when he was divinely inspired, and therefore he averaged only about 10 ghazals per year. His focus to write poetry of the beloved. Here are some works by Hafiz entitled I Heard God Laughing, Poems of Hope and Joy. Another work of Hafiz is the Gift Poems by a great Sufi master. The last one is Love Poems from God, 12 Sacred Voices from the East and West. His work is known for its mystical insights and beauty of composition. So, Hafiz's most famous work is his Divan. Among the many partial English translations of this work are those written by Gertrude Bell and H. Wilbert Forrest Clark. So this his Divan has collected a mini achievement, a collection of numerous multi-layered. So his Divan, actually, this is a collection of numerous multi-layered poems. The Divan consists of primarily of sonnet-like verses, ghazals, quatrains, and a few miscellaneous odios or gasidas and fragment kitas. Strong mythical themes abound, along with social criticisms and philosophical and intellectual insights. Hafiz's influence of Persian literature is undeniable. His master of language, his exploration of profound themes, and his deep connection to Persian culture have made him a towering figure in the literary tradition. His poetry continues to inspire and captivate readers worldwide, demonstrating the enduring power of Persian words and legacy of Hafiz's genius. So that would be all. Thank you and God bless everyone.
Hello everyone, my name is Melbert Steve Aubea, and what I am going to discuss to you right now is all about Rumi's epic and poems. So this topic is under the Persian literature, and let's find out what is this all about. So first, let us delve first. Who is Rumi? So who is Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi? So Rumi, in 1207 to 1273, was a 13th century Persian poet, theologian, and mystic, whose work has had a lasting impact on literature, philosophy, and spirituality. His poems and epics are filled with themes of love, divine connection, and the quest for spiritual enlightenment. So next is, let's define first what is epic. So epic, a long narrative poem often detailing heroic deeds, significant events, and also universal themes. Next one is, what is poem? So a poem, a short or long form of literary expression, often using metaphor, rhyme, rhythm, and symbolism to convey emotions, ideas, or narratives. So Rumi's poems, including those in the Divan-i-Shams, i-Tabrizi, and Rubaiyat, are usually shorter and focused on intense moments of spiritual insight, love, and mystical experience. So now, these are Rumi's most famous epic work is the Masnavi, also known as the Masnavi, Manavi, or spiritual couplets. So the Masnavi or the Manavi is often considered Rumi's magnum opus. It consists of 6 books and more than 25,000 verses, making it one of the most important texts in Persian literature. So the Manavi or the Masnavi of Rumi, so it has a significant role in the Persian literature, consisting of 6 books and more than 25,000 verses. So it is written in Masnavi form, a type of Persian poetry consisting of rhyming couplets. So next is, the poem is an exploration of Sufism, Islamic mysticism, and the path of spiritual enlightenment. So it combines stories, parables, and allegories to illustrate spiritual truths and the relationship between the human soul and the divine. So the poem is an exploration of Sufism, Islamic mysticism, and path to spiritual enlightenment. So it combines stories, parables, and allegories to illustrate spiritual truths and the relationship between the human soul and the divine. So it is not merely a collection of mystical teachings, but a deeply poetic, philosophical, and emotional expression of Rumi's personal spiritual journey. So the Masnavi covers a broad range of themes. So this includes the Manavi covers a broad range of themes. So including, number 1 is the nature of God, number 2 the human soul, next is the importance of love, the search for truth, the unity of existence, and lastly the relationship between the self and the divine. So it is often referred to as the Quran in Persian due to its spiritual depth and significance. So in addition to the Manavi or Masnavi of Rumi's poetry is vast and varied. So with themes ranging from divine love to the human experience, his poems are deeply emotional and often transcend the religious boundaries, focusing on the universal experience of seeking union with the divine. So next is, yes, that's what I said. And also, some of the best known collections of Rumi's poetry include the number 1, Divan-i-Shams Tabrizi, the Divan of Shams of Tabriz. So this collection of poems is devoted to Rumi's beloved spiritual mentor, Shams of Tabriz, whose meeting with Rumi profoundly changed his life. So the poems are passionate, intense, and filled with longing for divine love. So the next one is number 2, Fihi Ma Fihi, or the Discourses. So this is a collection of Rumi's prose teachings and spiritual discourses, many of which were originally delivered to his followers in the form of lectures. So next is the Rubaiyat, or the quatrains. Rumi also wrote a series of short 4-line poems known as Rubaiyat. So these poems typically express profound thoughts on love, life, and the nature of the universe, so often with a mystical or philosophical tone. So next is, so we have the conclusion. Rumi's works provide profound insights into spirituality, love, and self-discovery, emphasizing the transformative power of divine love and the connection between the human soul and the divine. His poetry, rich in allegory and metaphor, transcends cultural and religious boundaries, offering universal wisdom. Practically, his teachings encourage emotional intelligence, personal growth, and inner peace. So by embracing Rumi's themes of love, unity, and spiritual awareness, individuals can cultivate deeper self-awareness, improve relationships, and find greater meaning in their spiritual journeys. So imagine how crucial Rumi's works to us, or how to develop our personal growth or our emotional intelligence and inner peace. So by embracing this kind of work, so we can appreciate what we have, and also it can develop for future purposes. So in generalizations, no, so or if we sum up the information, so Rumi, known simply as Rumi, was a 13th century Persian poet and mystic whose works, especially the Masnavi or Manavi and Divan-i-Shams, explore universal themes of divine love. So spiritual transformation and the connection between the human soul and the divine, so through allegory, metaphor, and symbolism. Rumi expressed profound spiritual truths rooted in Sufism. So transcending cultural and religious boundaries, his poetry continues to inspire readers worldwide, offering timeless wisdom on love, self-discovery, and the spiritual journey, making it relevant across generations and cultures. So that would be all. Thank you for listening and God bless us all.
Good day everyone, my name is RG Deganato and I am your discussion for today. And my topic is all about Ferdowsi's writings. But before we proceed to our topic, let's consider first our goal. First is to explore the significance of Ferdowsi's writings in Persian literature. Second is to analyze the themes and literary style of the Shahnameh. And third is to discuss Ferdowsi's impact on modern Persian literature and culture. So, in introduction, the Shahnameh composed by the Persian poet. Ferdowsi stands as one of the most significant works of Persian literature. This epic poem, consisting the approximately 50,000 couplets, is structured into three main sections. First is the mythical age, second is the heroic age, and lastly is the historical age. Through its verses, Ferdowsi not only recounts the tales of legendary figures, but also explores profound themes that resonates with cultural identity and moral integrity. So let's proceed to the structure and themes. The Shahnameh is organized into three distinct sections. First, we have the mythical age. This section introduces the foundational myths and legends that shape the Persian cultural landscape. Second is the heroic age. Ferdowsi brings to life valiant characters such as Rostam, his tragic son, Sohrab, and Kavi, the blacksmith. These figures embody the ideals of heroism and valor, showcasing bravery and the significance of courage and honor in overcoming adversity. Third is the historical age. This part reflects on the historical narratives that contributed to the Persian identity, often highlighting the eternal struggle between good and evil. So next is Ferdowsi's exploration of these themes reflects a deep philosophical inquiry into justice and moral integrity, and underscoring his beliefs in the necessity of a just society. Let's proceed to the literary style. Ferdowsi's literary style is characterized by rich imagery and symbolism, complemented by a rhythmic structure that enhances the storytelling experiences. His language is both lyrical and accessible, which has contributed to the Shahnameh's status as cornerstone of Persian literature. The poem's enduring appeal ensure its place in the hearts of readers for generations. Cultural impact. The impact of Ferdowsi's writings extends far beyond his own time. His work played a crucial role in preserving the Persian language during the Arab conquest, a period that threatened to the diminished Persian cultural identity. The Shahnameh not only solidified this identity, but also influenced subsequent generations of poets, including renowned figures such as Sadi and Rumi, who drew inspiration from Ferdowsi's themes and narrative techniques. So, moreover, Ferdowsi's work has transcended in literature, finding expression in various forms of art, including theater, film, and visual arts. This adaptability showcased the enduring relevance of the Shahnameh and its themes. So, contemporary relevance. So, in contemporary times, Ferdowsi's influence continues to resonate deeply. The themes of the Shahnameh engage with pressing issues of identity, justice, and cultural heritage that remain relevant today. The poem is celebrated and studied both in Iran and around the world, fostering a deeper understanding of Persian history and its enriched literary traditions. So, in conclusion, through Ferdowsi's writing, readers gain insight into the values and ideals of ancient Persia, as well as a reflection of the importance of cultural preservations. The Shahnameh exemplifies the power of storytelling in shaping national identity and continues to inspire discussion around justice and moral integrity in modern society. As a vital part of Iranian culture, Ferdowsi's epic remains a testament to the enduring legacy of Persian literature. And that's the end of my part. Thank you so much for listening.